the third program of MBA COL. The course is Project Management. I'm your host Hera Imtiaz, and our subject expert is Mr. Saeed Chaudhary. Welcome, sir. But let us first remind ourselves of the last program. In the last program, you studied the language of project management, how projects arise, new technologies and projects, tools and techniques of project management, categories of management, templates of MS project.
Last program were project and organization objectives, project selection model, nature of project selection models, project evaluation factors, criteria for project selection, knowledge base of project manager, and last, why projects are rejected. Now let's take up today's topic, which is project portfolio process or PPP. Project portfolio process is the process of selection of a group of projects. The group of projects is called portfolio. It is also called program. Portfolio selection is faced by project-driven organizations or some of the organizations which make a number of projects. They may also face the situation. But those who do projects only, they have to observe this process most often. They have to apportion available resources to various projects which may be at different life cycle phases. Further, they cannot hire new human resource every time, particularly the skilled one. Moreover, the organization has vendors, contractors, and subcontractors who work in coordination with the company. Quality of resources needed at various life cycle phases also varies.
On the screen, you will be seeing few of the new series of project portfolio process. This is a new series. This is a new series of projects. This is a new series of projects as well. And what other factors one must keep in view while selecting portfolio will be explained by our expert.
Nearly the same as while selecting one project, but first we have to make SWOT analysis, which means an analysis which tells us about strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats while doing a project or while doing a group of projects. And one may also consider the benefits that will accrue to the company. For that, we have to visualize characteristics of benefits, which means what sort of benefits the company will have from doing this project or this series of projects. The profit must be from main project or line of projects and not from marginal or secondary activities. Will the company gain in the goodwill of customers? What are the chances of penetrating the market if similar projects are already there? What effect it will have on our future business? When we are developing a new technology, what are the chances of success? Can the company transfer technology from other projects or from elsewhere? Will the company gain in terms of reputation? As project manager, can you make optimum use of workforce employed in different projects? Are there any unutilized capacities in different projects and at different times? On the other hand, there could be a portfolio in which high resource use could occur in all the projects at the same time. This is high risk portfolio. In sum, we have to develop a balanced corporate portfolio.
But the question still remains, what the project-driven organizations gain from project portfolio process? Why can't they study individual projects? Why must they indulge in project portfolio process?
It is a question of articulation of company goals and strategies with the projects envisaged. All projects must be in consonance with company strategies. Additionally, portfolio process helps in a number of ways. These are to isolate small project-like activities that could be handled through other means, to prioritize available projects, that is to bring them in an order. Some projects must be having greater priority than others in the eyes of company management, to limit the number of projects, which means we cannot take up all the projects at the same time or even sequentially. We have to choose, and this means limiting the number of projects. To identify projects with best fit, which means projects which are in consonance with the company activities, which best fit the company strategy. To identify projects that support multiple organizational goals, to eliminate high risk and high cost projects and multiple organizational goals, which means the organization may be having many goals, but some projects fulfill those goals more appropriately than others. Similarly, eliminating high risk and high cost projects is essential because they are high risk projects and they may put company to problems which may be the company may not be able to face in future. To eliminate projects that bypass the formal selection process, because it happens that sometimes there are various reasons in companies and some projects bypass the selection process, but ultimately they are not the most successful ones or the most wanted ones. So we have to eliminate those projects. To keep from overloading the organization, again this means the organization has to be very choosy because the resources are always limited. So it's not good to overload the organization with projects, all of whom would want resources. To balance resources with needs, which again means that resources are needed everywhere and resources are needed elsewhere also, that is at places other than projects. So the resources have to be balanced with the needs of the company. To balance short, medium and long-term needs. Now needs are also not of the same status. There are some short-term needs, there are medium-term needs, and there are long-term needs. So when we select projects, which means when we select a portfolio, we have to keep in view the short term, the medium term, and long term needs of the company.
What steps an organization may take for completing a project portfolio process will be explained by our expert.
The steps are, first of all, establish a project council, and then identify project categories and criteria, collect project data, assess resource availability, prioritize the projects within categories, select the projects to be funded and held in reserve, implement the process.
Well, another question arises, who should be the member of project council?
Evidently, senior management and managers of major projects and program manager, which means the manager of the whole portfolio, head of project management office, because in future we'll be studying about project office, project management office, and there will be head of a project management office. And relevant general managers, those who can identify key opportunities and risks, and anyone who can disrupt the process. Now, this seems to be a humorous remark, but when we look carefully at companies working, there is always politics and there are lobbies, and there may be people who would want to disrupt the process of portfolio selection because they would want certain projects to be selected. So this means it is better to take even those people on board who can disrupt the process.
Mr. Saeed, I would like to ask another question, that what are the categories of projects?
Actually, categories have been developed by certain researchers, and these are mostly known as the derivative projects, for example, is a category, which means that the projects who are only incrementally different in producing services or products. And there are platform projects which have used certain new technologies, and there are breakthrough projects which have radical breakthroughs from past technologies, and on the basis of these new technologies, new products or new methods of services are developed and marketed, of course. And last of all, there are research and development projects. These are the projects which are based on new visions, and they create new theories, and on the basis of new theories, there are sometimes developments which are of very great nature and change the course of human history. Now, you can see certain examples of these on the slides. For example, derivative projects, mobile phones is a derivative project because there are various models daily coming with new functions or with new names of old functions, but they are basically the same. And there are platform projects. For example, in its own time, the invention of a ballpoint pen was something new, because previously people used fountain pens which had different problems attached to them, and with the introduction of new technology of ballpoint pens, those difficulties were removed. Similarly, you can see the breakthrough projects examples in optical fiber, in internal combustion engines, and research and development projects. You can see, for example, fusion reactors. this is a research and development project because it's very new technology, and similarly solar driven and solar energy driven aeroplanes, these are the examples of research and development projects.
What happens after that? What is the result of project portfolio planning will be explained by our expert.
Actually, you mean what happens after we are decided on the categories of projects and now we are planning a portfolio, and this process is known as project portfolio planning. Portfolio planning results in an aggregate project plan. The aggregate project plan helps in viewing us the mix of the projects, which means that we have to take projects not of one kind only, but we may take some platform projects, some research and development projects, some projects which are of only incremental nature. So in view of the mix of the projects, we have to make a plan, because the projects may be from all categories. Within each category, one would want to adjust and analyze with reference to various management aspects. Most important is assessment of resource demand of the organization, indicated by the size, timing, and number of projects. Further, a project manager will have to adjust gaps in categories, aspects, sizes of projects, and timing of the projects, which also means that sometimes the projects enter into different phases at different times. Since project management does not have career paths as in functional departments, the project portfolio process provides chance to carve career paths for competent project managers and their team members.
By now you might have guessed that project portfolio process is more useful when projects are interdependent. However, many of its parts apply to individual projects also. The expert will now explain how interdependent projects need detailed planning and evaluation.
This process is called feasibility study. The process is a part of project planning process. An analytical tool used during the project planning process, it shows how an institutional business would operate under a set of assumptions. The assumptions are about technology to be used, the facilities, equipment, production process, manpower, which includes technical, skilled, semi-skilled, and unskilled manpower, the financial aspects, which include capital needs, volume, cost of goods, wages, etc. It is like putting project into pieces together to make a whole. If they perform together to create a technical and economically feasible whole. The study also shows the sensitivity of the business to changes in these basic assumptions. This needs guessing at alternatives in the changed business environment.
Let us now study the major parts of feasibility study.
This can be explained from many angles. For example, first part,
project background and history,
This includes project description, capacity production, operations, technical feasibility, technical collaboration.
Market analysis.
Market analysis includes existing demand and supply and future demand and supply. Market prospects, which means what are our prospects in the coming days in this market. Views of local suppliers and buyers.
Economic justification.
Economic justification means already existing similar projects, effect of proposed project on other industries, and as benefit to the other industries by the project and benefit to project by other industries. New employment opportunities created by this project, capital output ratio, foreign exchange required, and many other economic and financial ratios that will be calculated when we are making a feasibility study in detail.
Project facilities.
Project facilities evidently include the basic ones, that is land or area, civil engineering works, power, water, fuel, gas, manpower analysis, machinery and equipment, both locally available and imported. Raw material analysis, that is local and foreign sources of raw materials. And when we talk of imported raw materials, we have to face import regulations and fiscal recommendations of the government or the state bank. Sources of availability of raw materials, local and imported, have to be ensured and contracts negotiated.
Project implementation schedule.
This will be studied in great detail, therefore we leave it here because we'll be studying networking and scheduling separately.
Now, of all what we have studied right now, the next question arises is what is included in project implementation schedule?
This includes scheduling all activities in order. For example, acquiring or purchasing land for plant, placing orders with the definite delivery period because there are no indefinite orders, design and construction of building, when design will be finalized and construction starts, or will the two go together. For each phase, erection and installation of machinery. This may also involve imports, which in turn means opening letter of credit and government import regulations, licenses and permits. Commissioning startup requires people to be trained and be in position. Commercial operations require lining up cash flows and working capital.
Meanwhile, the person preparing feasibility study and project manager must thoroughly calculate project cost and give a clear picture of financing arrangements. Please explain these briefly.
You can very well imagine this is a very delicate area of project management, rather the most important, because it deals with project cost and financing. Now, this includes land and buildings, machinery and equipment, furniture and fixtures, pre-production and startup expenses, total fixed cost, net initial working capital requirement, project financing through equity, debentures, loans, and other sources, if any.
What projections are prepared on the basis of these estimates? I would like to ask from the expert.
It is very necessary to prepare these projections because success of the project depends upon how correctly we estimate the future. The projections prepared are projected income statement, projected balance sheet, projected cash flow, ratio analysis, which means analysis of return on investment and return on assets, etc., financial statements, and break-even analysis. That is, when shall we reach at a stage where we will start making profit.
The expert will now throw light on investment analysis, which is the last part of feasibility study.
Investment analysis includes internal financial rate of return, which means expected rate of return on investment and rate of return on assets. Cost benefit analysis means at which point increased sales will eventually just cover fixed plus variable costs, that is total cost. This is the break-even point. From this point onward, the project will start earning profit. On the basis of this analysis, production is planned in such a way that fixed cost does not exceed contribution margin.
With that, we come to the end of this program. Before taking leave, the expert would like to review major points of learning covered today.
Today we learned about project portfolio process, which means how we select a group of projects and the uses of this process. We learned benefits of project portfolio process and categories of projects, and what steps do we take to complete this PPP, that is project portfolio process. We also learned what is project council and who are the members of this council, and last of all, we learned what is feasibility study.
Our next program will be on scope and type management. We now end this program, and thanks to the expert. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Allah Hafiz.